Hi, this is Jim, your product expert with Sump Pumps Direct. We're over at Bob's house today. This is Bob, my oil assistant at the store. Today we're going to install and replace and install a sump pump for his pit. We're going to do a check valve as well, just an FYI. If that pump you're replacing is at least 5 to 7 years old, it's highly recommended you change that check valve out too. They wear out just like a pump or a pair of shoes. They start making noise after a while, so it is highly recommended to change out that check valve. So Bob, what are we doing today? What are we putting in there?
Well, today, James, we're going to be putting in a Liberty 250 3/3 horsepower pump with a piggyback tether float. You know, we went with that one today because I've got a 8-foot height and about 6 foot outside.
Today we're going to do a complete swap out of a pump, so it's not a new installation. We're pulling an old one out, putting a new one in, so a total swap out of a pump. When you read your manual, make sure you go through all the steps necessary to do this. If you read the manual, you can usually get through all those steps and not have any problems with the pump. All right, so before we get started, we're going to go through some basic steps you need to follow and adhere to. This is all in the installation manual. Number one, make sure you unplug that pump before you do any work in there. You don't want to be zapping yourself or letting yourself up and ending up in a hospital. So, number two, make sure that outlet that you're plugging that pump into is within reach of the power cord. Most of these power cords are about 8 to 10 feet in length for your most of your cords. That the outlet should be at least 4 feet off the floor as well. Number three, you never want to run an extension cord. So, you know, if that outlet happens to be the other side of the room for the pump is, you have to drop another outlet in there. You can't run an extension cord. Doing that can heat up those wires when that pump is running. It's gonna drop the draw and the voltage on that pump, so it's not gonna run as efficiently, and you'll have problems with that pump if that power cord doesn't, or that extension cord doesn't catch on fire or something from heating up too much. So, and number four, make sure that the outlet you're plugging into is a dedicated circuit. That's all going to be per National Electric Code, so just make sure of that, because that's very important as well. On number five, there's going to be labels and things on the pump or on the tag on the pump cord. Keep those on, don't take those off, because you may need that later on. And number six is don't run the pump dry. That can cause the pump to burn out, obviously. Not a good thing, so just don't let that pump run dry. All right, so before you start, make sure you have all the tools you need to get the job done.
First of all, you're probably going to need a drill with a 3/16 drill bit in it. You're going to need a bucket to put the old pump in. You're going to need a shop vac to suck up any water that's needed. We need some primer and some PVC cement. We've got a hacksaw. We've got a new check valve. We need some adjustable pliers. We need a rubber boot. We have an adjustable pipe wrench if we need to really tighten those fittings in. We got some zip ties to hold the cord. Outside of that, maybe some gloves and a couple rags just to keep things neat.
So Bob the builder, what's the first step in getting this situation going?
Well, the very first step you want to always do is you want to make sure that that electrical connection is out. You don't want any electric around water. Second step is we want to disconnect the pump from the rest of the discharge pipe. Okay. Normally that's done right at the check valve and at the bottom of the check valve. Okay. That way you keep all the water in the pipe from the check valve up. Then the next thing we want to do is pull that pump out. You definitely want to try and have a bucket close to you, because if you don't have that bucket next to you,
it can be a little messy.
Yeah, you're going to get your feet wet. Sure. And then that fourth thing you want to do, you want to make sure you inspect the pump, you want to inspect the pit. Make sure there's no debris in there, because if you got a lot of debris, you want to clean that pit out. Remember, we want to make sure that this is a clean water running pump. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to attach the top of our check valve to the top of our discharge pipe. We're going to take our union with our adapter. We're going to make sure that we prime the inside of the fitting and the outer edge of the piping, because the primer helps the PVC cement adhere properly with a good strong bond. Then we want to make sure that we put the coupling on over the pipe, and then we're going to put in some of the PVC cement inside the fitting. Just a little bit, nothing fancy. Then the key is to push it on and turn it. That locks it in. And it's as simple as that. So then you want to attach your check valve onto your coupling. You don't need to make it super tight, because this is just on here so we can measure the rest of the piping. Okay, so then what we want to do next is we want to measure the distance between the bottom of our check valve and the base where our block is, which is about 62.5 inches. Then we're going to measure from the floor up, and we're at 2.5 inches. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to attach the male threaded adapter on the end of our piece of pipe that we're going to fit onto the pump. You just want to use a little bit of the primer on the fitting and on the edge of the pipe. And once again, a little bit of glue on the inside of the fitting. Slide it on and twist. And thread that into our pump. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we want to make sure we test the pump. Before we install it, we want to make sure we have a working pump and a working float. So what we want to do first is we want to take the plug for the pump and we want to plug it into the plug for the float, because this is what's going to control the pump turning on and off. And then we're going to plug that into our outlet. We have a working pump. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put the weep hole in. Lean your pump so now you can do a nice 45-degree angle. We've got our drill with a 3/16 inch bit inside. We're going to go up, usually about 2 fingers is a good gauge. And we're going to line up and then add a 45-degree angle down. And your weep hole is installed. Okay, so now we're going to lower the pump in with the discharge pipe and make sure that our discharge pipe will line up properly with the bottom of the check valve. So you want to make sure that you pre-measure everything, because these pieces come in 10-foot lengths. I pre-measured and cut the pipe at about 62 inches to make things easier for us today. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the adapter, we're going to place it on the bottom of the check valve where it would be, and then we're going to mark a line on the discharge pipe where we need to cut that discharge pipe to properly put the adapter in place. Once we mark that line, we can then go ahead and get a hacksaw, cut the edge of the pipe off, and then we'll be ready to attach the adapter into this whole application. So what we're going to do next is we're going to attach the adapter for the bottom of the check valve on the discharge pipe, and then we'll attach the coupler. We're going to put our primer on, the glue, slide our adapter over, push, turn. That way it's locked in. Our adapter is glued. Go ahead and secure and tighten. Make sure both are good and that our float is free from the tile coming in or the edge of the pit. So one of the last things you want to do after your pump is installed, you have everything connected, is you want to take some wire ties and you want to attach the cord to the discharge pipe. We're going to go ahead and plug our pump in. We're also going to examine and make sure the water is coming through our check valve properly. Okay, and then our last step, we want to make sure that we protect the sub pump from any debris falling in their toys, kids, adults, things like that. Perfect opportunity to put a sub pump pit cover on top.
All right, so that's about it. Went pretty smooth, pretty easy. It's not that difficult if you have the right tools and you read that manual. So what do you think, Bob?
You know, overall, it was a pretty easy day. Pump is really quiet. The check valve is just, there's no clunking. I think I'm going to have to move my bed down here. It's so quiet, just so I know it's running. So really good job today, and glad we got this done.
That's it. If you have any information you want to check out on our website, there's plenty there. A lot of how-to videos. There's how-to articles. If you have any ideas, let us know. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. A lot of good videos over there too. So until next time, you all take care. Have a great day.